Hello all, welcome to Vishnu IAS Academy. Today we are going to discuss about model answer 4. The question is, what are the salient features of inclusive growth? Has India been experiencing such a growth process? Analyze and suggest measures for inclusive growth. So what is the crux of the question here? What are the keywords here? Inclusive growth. First understand what is inclusive growth here and then get into the discussion. What is the inclusive growth here? An inclusive growth is a development paradigm or an economic system that benefits the growth and developmental prospects of an economy, benefits all sections of society. It redistributes the growth of an economy, helps in the poverty alleviation and the development of its fruits equally to all the sections of society, where no one ignored. Yes, so that is inclusive growth. So coming into the introduction, inclusive growth refers to a development paradigm that ensures the benefits of economic expansions are equitably shared across all strata of society. All strata. There is no discrimination in distribution of income. It benefits all strata of society, particularly marginalized groups. You know what is the meaning of marginalized groups? Groups that were historically neglected by society. So they are known as marginalized groups. It goes beyond mere GDP numbers to focus on expanding access to essential services and reducing systemic inequalities and creating productive employment. So for a diverse nation like India, it bridges the gap between macroeconomic success and human development. So what is the difference between a growth and development? See, growth is something where an economic system experiencing the growth in $1 billion, in $1 million, its GDP, GNP, its NDP increases rapidly. That's called growth. Then what is development? A development is something where it focuses on measuring the human developmental aspects. Does India really developing its lifestyle standards? Does every Indian is getting access to food? Does every Indian is getting uncontaminated and clean water for its drinking? So that's called human development factors. Let's now understand the demands of the question. What are the salient features of the question? It's the demand number 1. Has India been experiencing such a growth process? It's a demand number 2. Analyze and suggest measures for inclusive growth. It's a demand number 3. Then we have to also write the challenges that India is facing in achieving the inclusive growth, and also briefly mention what are the measures we have taken for achieving inclusive growth, and also write a way forward, what more measures we have to what measures we have to bring in for achieving an inclusive and sustainable growth in India. So we have discussed the intro. Now let's get into the understanding of salient features of inclusive growth. It's a broad-based and sectoral. It drives growth across primary, secondary and tertiary sectors equally. So preventing concentration of wealth in few hands. And inclusive growth keeps employment growth as center of his plan. Equality of opportunity, poverty reduction and social and regional balance. What is analysis? Let's get into, is India experiencing an inclusive growth really? So now understand. So unbalanced sectoral growth. While services boom, agriculture supporting nearly half the workforce contributes less than 20% to GDP, worsening the rural-urban divide. So briefly, let's get into the number. The contribution employment GVA, primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector. Tertiary sector around 60%, secondary sector around 25%, and primary sector around 15 to 20% contributes to GDP or GVA. And in employment terms, tertiary sector only around 20 to 25%. Primary sector around 47% of India's workforce engages in agriculture, and coming to secondary sector around 30%. So these are not absolute numbers. These numbers are subject to correction, and these are all only numbers relatively. Okay, so this is called an unbalanced sectoral growth. Now, the jobless growth paradox. The sectors are growing, but the employment opportunities are not growing. That's the reason for not jobless growth paradigm is the service sector needs a lot of skills. To get a job in the service sector, need a lot of technical and management skills. So India has so much of workforce, but it lacks the workforce and employable skills where it can accommodate in the service sector. We have the skills, we have the skilled resources, the human resources, where they mostly can be engaged in the manufacturing and the industrial sector. Now, social inclusion, success, and digital democracy. What are the key challenges to achieve inclusive growth? Skills mismatch, as we discussed before. A vast workforce lacks the technical competencies that are required by the high growth sectors. Inadequate social infrastructure. What is social infrastructure? Health, education, these comes under the social infrastructure. The lack of health facilities, the lack of access to education infrastructure or education facilities, obviously increasing our out-of-pocket expenditures. So that will drain our pockets, that will drain our income and affects our final income growth. It will lead to the imbalanced growth of humans. So that's the challenge in achieving an inclusive growth. Now, gender disparity is there. What are the suggested measures? Revitalize the manufacturing sector, enhance human capital. What is human capital enhancement? Like the change in their educational standards and development of very good curricula, development of vocational skills, and also rural primary healthcare sector improvement. These are all comes under human capital enhancement. Boost rural infrastructure, formalize the informal economy, foster women-led development. So we have brought many reforms for women-led development, such as 1/3 of reservation for women, and also to achieve inclusive growth, not just across the inclusive growth, not just across the poor and rich, but also the horizontal growth across sections, the men, women, etc. So we have to write from this perspective also. What are the few initiatives we brought in by the Telangana government? Telangana government has brought V-Hub. It is like replica of a T-Hub, but V-Hub produces the women entrepreneurs, encourages the thought and innovative ideas of a woman entrepreneurs. So that's the objective of V-Hub. What is the conclusion? So intro and conclusion can be in paragraphs, only in paragraphs. Intro can be 3 lines or 30 to 40 words. Conclusion can be in 3 lines or 30 to 40 words. And in between, body that must address the demands we have identified here. So multiple demands, demand 1, demand 2, demand 3, demand 4. And then challenges, then way for and measures. So this is how we have to write a comprehensive answer that gets us 6 to 7 marks out of 10. So that is the highest mark you can achieve in a state PSC exam or UPSC exam. So thank you all.